Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. Allow me to introduce my better half, Missy Ross. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, it's my pleasure. Today, I want to talk with you, Missy, about things more related to how maybe clean eating has led to more of a functional medicine lifestyle for me as a physician, but also as a family. And I'd love to just start back and let's say, tell us a little bit about maybe your journey. I know things really sort of came to a head for you in around 2006 when you started to make some life changes on your health journey. But if you could give us some context, maybe kind of share a little bit about your wellness journey as far back as you want to go.
Okay, well, we'll have to go far back just to be able to kind of get the full picture of what was happening. I will say though, in 2006, I was at a time where I just was a very busy mom. I would just had our fifth baby, and I was homeschooling and taking care of all the kids, but I was also just at a point in my life where I just didn't feel my best. I was tired, and of course, with lots of little people in my house, but more so just didn't feel well, felt bloated, and just not healthy, not sleeping well, of course, but also just had brain fog and all the things that I think you just chalk up to, oh, I have all these kids and I'm postpartum and this is normal. This is my new normal, at least for now. And so I just kind of thought that it was normal. But if we rewind back to when I was a kid, grew up in a great home. I actually grew up with my mom and single parent family, and she was amazing. And I think too, when we stop to look at just our patterns and familial patterns, she just was doing the things that she had learned and grown in. And as far as health and wellness goes, she would cook and she would do some great dinners, but she was notorious, and I love you, Mom, if you watch this, you're amazing. Um, she was notorious for giving me a Coke and a Pop-Tart every morning for breakfast.
Coke and a Pop Tart.
Coke and a Pop-Tart.
Nice.
And she's like, you need that little pep. And
And did you
yeah.
toast them or did you just eat them like right out of the?
Oh, I ate them running out the door. But yeah, that was kind of the norm for me, or whatever I could grab. But it was definitely not your protein packed, healthy breakfast. But it was what I had learned to do. So fast forward just in my adult life, college, and even early marriage, it was very common for us to drink a lot of Cokes and have a lot of sugar and just, eat the best we could, but not worry about all the things that were in it.
Right.
And so back to 2006, I felt like I just was experiencing just the normal stuff. Like, this is normal for me. And I was introduced to this 30 days to healthy living, health and wellness kind of thing. And I thought, what is this? Is this really something for me? And I had tried a lot of other things. I had tried some different diets and different things, and it worked for a little bit, but the moment you stopped, I usually gained weight back. And I learned more about that as I went on my health and wellness journey. But I thought, okay, I'm going to give this a try. I had a friend, he was in Arbonne, and she's like, you need to try this 30 days to healthy living. It's going to change your life. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I've heard that before. But I was desperate to do something. And so I did the 30 days to healthy living and used their products. And it was a game changer in so many ways and set me on a course for a better way of eating, something more sustainable, something that allowed me to see the foods that were sabotaging me and make healthy choices and keep continuing to do that. It was sustainable, which is the first time that had ever been the case.
I want to dive a little more, deeper into kind of maybe a little more of the specifics of that, plan, that clean eating plan, that 30-day plan. But I remember you sharing this with me when you were learning about it. And
Yeah.
what was my initial response?
Well, being a physician, we had lots of different supplements and different programs and things that you had seen, of course, up until that point, and it was actually comical. You're like, this is, if can be so frank, I'm just
Tell
gonna
'em, yeah.
say, this is just a bunch of snake oil. Like, this is not gonna work. Why are we spending all this money on it? And I'm like, well, because like my friends sense it works, and I've seen these people change their lives, so I'm gonna give it a try.
Yeah.
And so you were a little,
I was skeptical,
you
to
were
say the least,
skeptical
right?
for
That's
sure.
probably a nice way to say it.
However, you were telling people to be healthy
Yeah,
and drinking the whole 6 Cokes a day and pot of coffee, and,
that's right.
I'm like,
Yeah,
hypocrisy. So, I mean, I thought, well, if I can make some changes and at least learn some new things, then
yeah.
maybe it could affect
Well, it's
everybody.
kinda like do as I say, not as I do, I guess, right?
Indeed. Yeah.
And it obviously very traditional in my mindset, my training, very what we call evidence-based, not really wanting to probably look at the data that was emerging at the time about what this is the science behind this. And I know you started actually digging deeper into the science and learning more about that, and you got me to start looking at that as well during that time frame. Um, but I thought, oh, I know best, I know better. And I thought, well, I'll just humor you and let you do your thing. And if it makes you happy, go for it. It's not going to hurt you, I don't think. But I really thought like, oh boy, here we go.
Mm.
Because I didn't understand it. And again, I think a lot of times it's important to realize that I think we look at life through our lenses, our biases.
Mm.
We all have biases. We all have our backgrounds, our family of origin stuff that you mentioned, how we look at life, how we, you know, decide how we make decisions. And of course, I'm looking through some lenses that were maybe on this side of the fence, and not really maybe being willing to budge or look at things differently, look at life differently. And but it was good. You kept sharing with me, and you knew I was drinking at least 6 Cokes a day, a pot of coffee a day, and starting to show in my midsection. I'm sure I was gaining weight, and I wasn't really exercising a whole lot. I was in the
Mhm.
in the busy season of being a young attending, delivering lots of babies, crazy lifestyle, busy, and kids. But you still wanted to see, you wanted me to, you started getting
Yeah.
results. You started
Yeah.
seeing things. You started feeling better. You started experiencing some benefits. And we'll
Yeah.
get more into that too. I want to dive deeper into that. But you were persistent in sharing that. You were sharing that with me. And I thought, what the heck? I wasn't healthy, as healthy as I should be. And I started taking your advice, taking your medicine, so to speak. Let food be thy medicine, right? Kind of a deal. Learning more about clean eating, learning more about um, detoxification and elimination diets, and maybe more of the why, and learning more about the science behind it. And
Mhm.
but most importantly, there was clearly some results that I had started seeing. How I started feeling better, and experienced more energy, experiencing better sleep. Uh, of course, the bonus of losing weight, right? When you cut out all that sugar, all those calories, empty calories I was consuming, I think I lost like 20 pounds or something like that.
It was
It
crazy.
was awesome.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then I started to, exercise, and even ran a marathon not too much later. I
Mhm.
competed and ran a full marathon
Yeah.
and just really got on it. Of course, we've kind of yo-yoed, since here and there over the years.
Yeah.
But I'm grateful that we're at a place now where we've been so much more consistent and really live in this lifestyle. But I would love to hear you explain to our audience in detail, as much detail as you want, about, you know, why clean eating? What is clean eating? Why do we want to eat clean? Um, how do we do something like this? Tell me the ins and outs in as much detail of what that means, and what your understanding is, and so our audience can learn a little bit of maybe how this might benefit them as well. So please share with our audience about clean eating, what that looks like.
Well, at least for me during this journey, I had a community of people, which was really, really amazing. And because at first, when the whole plan was explained to me, I thought there's no way that I can do this and actually stay on it. It was a plan that was completely foreign to me in terms of like really looking at labels and seeing what was in our products and what was in the grocery stores and what um, we were actually consuming. And so having the recipes, having the guidelines were pivotal for me, and a coach that was like, this is what we do. And after walking through this whole process, I'm like, oh, I can help people. This is something that I can share and help others with whatever just different symptoms that they were feeling. But the basic plan is it is an elimination diet in the sense that we're getting rid of some really kind of heavy hitters in our diet that we don't even really focus on. We're getting rid of, gluten, dairy, whey, soy, caffeine, sugar, alcohol, just all of those things. And I remember when that list just came out, I was like, well, what else is there to eat? Like,
Right.
what am I going to eat? Are there different things? What does this look like? But what I quickly learned is that, you can't obviously substitute anything for sugar in the sense that what I was used to eating, but there were a lot of substitutions that I could make. Like I can get off dairy and I can substitute it with almond milk or coconut milk or something that was a non-dairy milk. I could still eat spaghetti and do those, still make that for my children and
What
use
kind of noodles would you use?
brown.
Spaghetti?
Yeah, like I would use brown rice noodles and I would either make my own spaghetti sauce or I would make sure that the sugar content was under a certain amount of grams. And so we still do salads. We were just making our own salad dressings and not, using all the processed ones. And so it became an more of a just kind of exciting kind of time where I'm like, oh, I can still eat like chips and salsa. I can still eat some of these things, but I just learned how to exchange that. The things that were not serving me into foods that actually were. And the way it was kind of explained to me, because I think you hear that detox or you hear elimination diet and you hear all these, keywords and you start to think like, this is really like, this is bad, or I'm going to need to be near a bathroom, or something's
Sure.
going to happen, or,
Like a colon
like,
cleanse
yeah,
or
like
something.
it's
We're not
so
talking
bad.
about that when we say that necessarily,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
And so it's not like that at all. But it is a gentle, at least the program I went through was a gentle detoxification of your liver and kidneys. And so the goal was to just flush out all those things that have kind of been sitting in those eliminating organs and flush it out by just stopping to consume all those things that I mentioned before, and then pouring in the right foods, whole foods, and things that will actually serve your body. And so they kind of explained it to me, which was actually fascinating, kind of just like a slow draining bathtub. Like your body is like, well, if you have a slow draining bathtub at home and you leave the water kind of just trickling just a little bit, eventually it's going to raise to the top, spill over, and wreak havoc all over your home. And so that's kind of what's going on with our kidneys and our eliminating organs. They're bogged down with everything that we're consuming, whether it's the food that's full of just different processed foods, things like that, or the air that we breathe has toxins and things we put on our skin, which I think we don't even really notice or don't think about that. That's, your skin's your largest organ. So whatever you put on it, it's going to get absorbed. So you're bringing in all of these things. So your eliminating organs have to be able to flush those out on a daily basis. And so if your liver's bogged down, it's kind of like that slow draining bathtub that just starts to fill. It can't flush, it can't detoxify, it can't get rid of things, and it starts to build up and spill over and wreak havoc all over your body by way of symptoms that we think are normal, like headaches and mood swings and bloatedness, IBS, all the dark spots on our skin from even like migraines. There's so many different things, and we kind of just chalk it up to this is normal, or I'm just kind of
Sure.
experiencing
It's
these
the
weird
way it
things, or I'm
is.
just getting older.
Sure.
And it wasn't until I did the 30-day that I actually I flushed everything out, and it totally changed my life in so many different ways. But I felt different. I was able to concentrate. I didn't have the brain fog, even with all my little people, and I wasn't bloated. I didn't have headaches. I wasn't drinking coffee for the first time, like ever. And so, yeah, those were just a few things. And I lost weight. So I lost 15 pounds the first month, and that was actually when you noticed it, and you were like, okay, what is this? Maybe I should take a look. And you actually joined me like this. You joined me the last like 8 days of that first 30 day. Like maybe I'll try this. So you tried it and lost like 11 pounds, like that,
That's
of
crazy.
course. And I was like, "Don't ever do this with me."
That's right, I
Just
remember.
er
You were happy and
I was happy and
miffed at the
sad,
same
yes. I'm
time.
like, "It's not fair that men have to get
That's
to do
true.
this."
Men
But
have a little easier job sometimes at getting that weight off right away.
yeah.
Yeah,
But, then we continued on, and that's probably another conversation, but
absolutely.
it was a sustainable, um it was a sustainable way of life that
Mhm.
actually enabled us to get healthier in so many ways.
Well, it really is just, proof's in the pudding. You can't argue with results, and seeing that you were doing it in a very natural, healthy way with just by moving your food sources around. That really opened my mind. And of course, seeing the results, I'm like, yeah, I think I want to try this. But you encouraged me too. It wasn't like,
Yeah.
I mean, you're like, you need to join me, you need to join me, and you weren't ugly about it or mean about it but I don't know, you won me over. And so I started to then look at things more holistically, not just for myself, but I really started to think about, wow, if this is helping me, I used to, I'm prescribing medicines to help people, and that's
Mhm.
appropriate. We need to do that still when people need that and have, crazy high blood pressure or out of control diabetes. You want to get it under control. But I thought, maybe we can do something to help people with something that is sustainable and something that can serve them for their lifetime, and maybe we don't have to be so dependent on medications for everything. So I started
Yeah.
digging into the literature and the research out there about functional medicine, integrative medicine, holistic medicine, more of that sort of thing. And I actually then did some more studies through AFORM, which is the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine, as well as some studies through the Institute for Functional Medicine. Took a lot of courses and certifications and fellowship trained actually. And so did that fellowship at A4M, and tremendous. I started seeing, well, I can start implementing it got me to think outside the box, right? And so it got me then to start thinking about what I can do to help more people. I used to get very excited about, oh, I cured or fixed diabetes or high blood pressure with this pill or that pill, and that used to excite me. And then I changed the script. I like, wow, I'm more excited now when I can get people off of blood
Mhm.
pressure medicine or get people off of diabetes medicine or cholesterol medicine
Yeah.
as an example. So it really was uh, tremendous. And I'd love for you to share some more stories about that in just a second, about maybe some patients. But I'd love to hear too, even more personally, how do you think that, clean eating, how did it help our children? And I want to, maybe we'll visit we got another time to talk. We're going to talk as much as we want to, but maybe just a 30,000 foot overview of maybe how maybe clean eating helped our children in general.
In general, well, it's actually um, given them quite the different childhood and start just to healthy living than you and I definitely had. They now are more aware of
Mhm,
what's in their foods, what to look for,
mhm.
how to read ingredients. We
That's
don't
awesome.
we don't really keep a I mean, we don't eat perfectly by any means, but we don't keep the normal processed foods in the house, and so, they they realize that. They enjoy actually, we have several of our kids that love to cook, and now even, as we have adult children, they were not always compliant as kids, but,
Right.
they are making those choices
Mhm.
now for themselves, now that they have those choices to do they have the ability to choose what they wanna eat, when they wanna eat it. They're choosing a healthier lifestyle, and they're reading labels, and they're eating more cleaner foods than
And
ever,
you
and
gave them
so
an education, on,
mhm,
how to adopt a lifestyle of
yeah,
wellness, and everything starts with nutrition, right? It's the
mhm,
foundation
yeah,
of everything in health and wellness, to be honest.
mhm.
So I think that's really been a tremendous leg up that they had. Granted, there were several years that we didn't eat that way, right? We had a lot of
Oh,
Cokes and
Pop-Tarts,
Pop-Tarts and
cereal,
cereals and all kinds of goodies,
all the things.
donuts and all kinds of yummy stuff. And again, we're not against any of that stuff now. It's
Yeah,
just we don't consume those like we used to.
yeah. So usually if I do buy that, they're like, "Are we having a party? Like,
Right?
who's coming
Who's coming
over?
over?
Like,
Right.
why'd
That's
you
true.
buy all this stuff?"
That's
So
true.
it's not the norm, but, yeah, they just make different choices now.
Can you think of some specific um, examples that maybe it's with some of our patients, obviously, like maybe some scenarios where you've, maybe with patients, and maybe how you shared specifically with patients, how you've been able to help them.
Yeah. Well, it's actually very much the same way that I explained it just a minute ago, how it was introduced to me. I just kind of listen first. What are some things that I think that's the biggest thing, is being able to kind of just sit and have a discussion about what it is that they're experiencing, and what is affecting them, what their goals are, and what they're looking to accomplish by doing something like this, or doing a 30-day or any kind of diet change. And it's been actually really exciting to see so many different results. Obviously, we can't make claims that it's just this or it's just that. I mean, it's hard work, it's making those choices, it's
Right.
doing all the things, but we've seen, in particular, we've had specifically several patients, I can count on 2, 3 hands, that have had different autoimmune issues, and different, and ladies with PCOS, people that have had issues with, having children, or just
Yeah, a lot of
not
hormone
hormone
issues,
issues and imbalances
metabolic
and different
issues,
things,
diabetes, hypertension,
all of those
cholesterol.
things. And so we've seen countless people, either like people with diabetes or cholesterol, being able to come off their medicines, or at least alter them to where they're not so dependent on them. Ladies that have, been able to balance their hormones through just cleaner eating, and um, just see some really miraculous things. Even ladies who didn't think they could have children have
Right.
had
No,
children,
we've had
and
some really cool
there have been
stories of.
some amazing
Yeah.
stories. And so I think too, it's just being able to walk alongside them and being able to coach them and let them know, like, you can definitely do this. It seems like it's hard. It's just like that, taking that first step and knowing that, um, there's life on the other side, and it's
That's right.
sustainable.
Well, it's made a difference. It's not just a program, but you mentioned at the outset, coaching and community. And I
Mhm.
think that's
Yeah.
something that it's you could do these things on your own. There's plenty of information on the internet. You can
Mhm.
read, you can do your own thing. And there's people that are very much self-starters, self-taught. But there's something to be said for having somebody coach you through the
Mhm.
process, or somebody, or a community of people that can come alongside you that are going through it with you. And that serves to help you on lots of levels. I think that's the beauty of where this has come from,
Mhm.
and how it's impacted our family, and how it's impacting other families. And like I said earlier, it's bridging that gap between the traditional approach and the holistic approach, and saying it's not either or, but and. How can we take the best of
Yeah.
medicine and the best of what we know integratively and functional medicine wise, and how can we marry these things together? Of course, in
Mhm.
our practice through a primary care lens, where we're seeing newborns all the way up to, people that are in their final stretch of life, that final season of life. And it's a real privilege to be able to care for people across the spectrum. And seeing cases even with little newborns, where kids are having reflux and they're having rashes or eczema, infants.
Yeah.
And we talk to moms about, well, what are you eating? What are you ingesting? What are you doing? Or kids in the toddler years, and, you
Yeah.
know, developing eczema, asthma, allergies. And a lot of times it comes back to, sometimes elimination, or we see inflammatory markers that are very high on patients. And we don't know why. So we start thinking of, like, what's causing the inflammation? And a lot of times it's what we put in our bodies, what we're
Yeah.
exposed to and what we put in our bodies. And so when we do these elimination diets, it's not to say, oh, you have an allergy to gluten, or you have a celiac disease, because we'll work up people for those things. But a lot of times it's negative. But we find that a lot of these foods like gluten and dairy are a little more pro-inflammatory. So maybe there are sensitivities and not
Mhm.
necessarily food allergies. There's a
Yeah.
distinction between food sensitivities and food allergies. So people that are manifesting the symptoms that you described earlier, like the
Yeah.
vague symptoms of brain fog or headache, or
No.
maybe some rashes or GI issues, they may have some food sensitivities. So when we start with what's most common, I always tell my students and other people that rotate with me, and that common things happen commonly. And so when you look at
Mm.
gluten and dairy, those seem to be a big, factor or player in a lot of these issues. So when we
Mhm.
eliminate gluten and dairy, just that alone sometimes can be both diagnostic and therapeutic, right? I can diagnose the problem because they got better, and it's therapeutic because they're better. So a lot of times, just by doing that with moms that are breastfeeding and their kids are having issues, we see the kids' issues clear up. Or as the kids are older, or even uh, adult patients have issues that clear up when they do the elimination or do this clean eating. It can really help to reset. And I think that's the beauty of this particular journey, that clean eating has really, started. And really, Missy, I think we owe it all to you. I owe it all to you, truly, on so
Oh,
many
that's
levels.
sweet.
So this is probably a good place to wrap up for today. I would
Mhm.
love to have you back so we can continue part two of some more discussions. I have some questions I want to ask, but I just want to end with maybe a little word of encouragement today. Every one of us is at a different point in our health and wellness journey, and but I just want to share really what I think is the take home point for today, and that is to consider pursuing just a more holistic path in your healthcare, like in your wellness plan, so that you can experience better health. Not only experience better health, but you learn to experience it your way. Thanks for joining us today.